is Sophie Lawson from sophielawson.com, and this is episode 30 of the So Free Art podcast, which is a little podcast I do each week about art and things. And this one, the main topic is going to be all about art challenges and why do an art challenge. So that's what this week's topic is. You can find show notes and stuff at sophielawson.com, and this is going to be the first episode which goes up onto YouTube at the same time as the podcast feed. So you can find the podcast on YouTube at youtube.com/sophielawson, and you can leave a comment in the comments on that video if you want, or you can also leave a comment at sophielawson.com/contact. The other thing we have this week is this week's little art tip, which is going to be about zooming in and out when drawing. So that's going to come up at the end of the show, but let's start with the main topic, which is why do an art challenge. So an art challenge is something like Inktober, which is happening next month, and you have 31 days to produce 31 drawings, and so you do one drawing every day for the whole of October. Basically, it's normally a month, like a 30-day challenge, where for that whole 30 days, you've made yourself a promise that you're going to show up every single day and do a drawing or a piece of artwork, and then you share it online with a bunch of other people who are also doing the challenge. So it has a lot of benefits in that it's like you've got the accountability that you've said you're going to do it, but that also allows you to focus on doing it. And then because you've got all these other people that are also doing the challenge, it's fun because you're seeing what everyone else is doing, and it also allows you to make sure you show up. Because if you didn't have these other people, you may, after like 10 days or something, you might think, oh, I can't be bothered. So that's basically what an art challenge is. It's a period of time, which is normally 30 days, where you every single day produce a piece of artwork and post it online with normally like a hashtag or something, so that it brings everyone together. So that's what the art challenge is, and I've done 2 so far. My first one was at the end of 2017, where I spent 3 months learning digital painting, and that was one that I actually made up on my own on the website, and I called it the Digital Dream. And the goal of that challenge was to learn digital painting with the desire of bringing a custom character that I'd created in my head called Lil Sophie, to bring her to life on the computer. So, and I think that is quite important with these challenges, is before you go into it, to have like a goal, that's something that is going to motivate you. Because with that digital dream, it was a 75-day challenge over 3 months, and it was probably one of the hardest things I ever did. And if I hadn't have made up the goal of bringing Lil Sophie to life, I don't think I would have got through that challenge. So I think it is very important to have a goal that is really sort of important for you, to keep you motivated. And then I've also done another one I did in, I think it was February of this year. I did Leslie Sater's 1330 painting challenge, which was 30 days of, I think it was February. And for those 30 days, every single day you had to produce a painting. And this one was traditional. So I've done 2 challenges so far. The first one was digital painting, and the second one was traditional painting. And both of these, I've never done anything before. With the digital, I'd never done anything digitally before. And with the traditional, I'd only done a handful of paintings at art class. And up until I started doing these challenges, I'd always really only worked with graphite pencils, and I really wanted to start bringing colour into my artwork. And I felt like the best way to do this was to do a challenge. Because if I didn't do the challenge and I just said I wanted to bring colour in, because the good thing about these challenges is it sort of brings with it a structure so that you don't have to worry about all these other things. All you have to focus on is what you're going to do within the rules of the challenge, but you still got a lot of freedom into what you do. Like in the 1330 painting challenge, you could paint whatever you wanted, so you got the freedom there, but you had the structure that it's got to be a traditional painting. So that's the challenges I've done so far, and I thought what I would do is I would just list a few things as to why I think it's good to do an art challenge, and then what I'm going to do is read little quotes that I put on the website from each week of the digital dream, because something else I think is quite handy is while you're doing an art challenge, I think it's quite good to write about what you're doing, because when you're writing about what you're doing, it can actually help you stay on track. Because with the digital dream, like I said, it got really hard at some times. Around week 5 it got really hard, and I think if I hadn't been writing, like the act of writing allowed me to process what I was struggling with, so I could adapt what I was doing to make it a bit more manageable. And that was with writing that I found like solutions to some of the problems I was encountering. So I think it's quite important, or I think it could be quite helpful to do a little bit of writing whilst you're doing the challenges, just to help you get the most out of the challenge. And what I did was I actually did my writing on the website with a weekly blog post. So I'm going to read little quotes from each week just to sort of highlight some of the things I was learning and struggling with and stuff. But why do an art challenge? So what I've done is I've listed a few little things here, and I'll come back to them in a minute with some examples. But when you're doing an art challenge, it takes you out of your comfort zone. It allows you to try new things. It builds your confidence. It can allow you to find a new passion or direction to take your art, or you might realise that something you've always wanted to do, now that you actually start doing it, you might realise that you don't actually enjoy doing that. So it's a good way to experiment. It can also build a drawing habit to like get the ball rolling, because of the structure of the challenge, and because you've got the accountability of all these other people, that can help you focus on building a new drawing habit. You also create a load of art, so you build up quite a big bunch of new drawings or paintings in a really short period of time. You feel part of something bigger because there's everybody else is drawing and painting along with you. You learn so much, but the main thing is it's just so much fun. So that's the main reasons that I think why it's fun to do, or why it's good to do these art challenges. I'll come back to them in a minute, but as an example, here's a quote from each week of the digital dream that I did, and that went over 12 weeks. So there's 12 little quotes here, and as I said, the digital dream, I was trying to push myself to learn digital painting, and I'd never done anything like this before, so I was miles out of my comfort zone. But I think looking at these quotes, you get an idea of how varied the art challenges can be, and how it's, well, for me, I feel like it sort of becomes like a journey where you go into the challenge thinking you're gonna do something, or you go into the challenge thinking you're gonna go down a certain direction, but the challenge itself almost becomes like a living, breathing thing that actually it starts taking you down the direction it wants to go. And if you just allow the challenge to go wherever it wants, it's almost like you find things about yourself that you didn't realise. So during week 1 of the digital dream, I said digital painting is a lot more organic and traditional feeling than I ever expected. And what that was is I'd always thought digital painting would be completely different to traditional. But what I realised quite quickly was that drawing on a computer was very similar to drawing on paper, and that was the thing that shocked me the most during that first week. And then on week 2 I said traditional drawing skills are key, and that's sort of related to the first week, but during the second week I started realising that all the things I'd learnt with traditional drawing were really still vitally important with digital, and I'd always thought it would be like a reset, but it wasn't. Everything I'd learnt from traditional was helping me with the digital, so that was quite fun. And then on week 3 I said clipping masks are awesome, and clipping masks are where you can, when you're working digitally, you can very quickly, say you draw a head or something, you can very quickly, with a clipping mask, colour the head in without colouring other bits. So you can start clipping bits of the drawing out. Basically, clipping masks just allow you to very quickly colour areas of a drawing. And this was when I started to realise the benefits of working digitally is that it allows you to do things that would take ages traditionally. You can do them a lot quicker digitally. So this was when I started to realise that there's benefits of traditional and benefits of digital, and I feel like both of them work together. So that's when I started realising that traditional and digital, they both have different skills, but they both come together. So that was quite fun. Week 4, this is when it started to get quite hard, and I said I need new eyes, and this was when I started to realise that I was getting headaches working on the computer. But what happened was I started looking into computer glasses, and I think it was around week 6 I picked up a pair of glasses, and that solved the issue. But this highlights something about these art challenges, is that you can go into it thinking something, but you have no idea what's going to happen. So I never realised that working on a computer was going to hurt my eyes. And so these art challenges, you have to be very adaptable, and just it really allows you have to sort of try anything. So with this eye strain, I started looking into software on the computer, and I ended up going down the computer glasses route. And so it was like a way of having to find a solution to the problem. But whilst I waited for these computer glasses to arrive, I adapted the challenge by taking myself off the computer and sketching in my sketchbook, but I was sketching Lil Sophie, which was the character I wanted to draw on the computer. So that was quite fun actually, because it allowed me to focus on Lil Sophie without being confused by the computer, because I was having to learn how to work on the computer as well. And that comes into week 5, where I wrote 2 goals, 1 challenge, and I realised that I'd gone into the challenge with 2 goals when I should really have focused on 1. And the 2 challenges were that I wanted to bring Lil Sophie to life, and I also wanted to find out if I enjoy the process of digital painting. What had happened was I'd started focusing too much on learning digital painting instead of what the original goal was, which was to bring Lil Sophie to life. So around week 5, that's when I started pulling back on how much learning I was doing on the computer, and instead of trying to learn everything to do with digital painting, I got enough skills so that I could do what I needed to do to then start bringing little Sophie to life. So again, it was kind of like the act of writing what I was feeling allowed me to adapt to the challenge. And then on week 6 I said, I find it incredibly relaxing and freeing sketching little Sophie. And this was when I really realised that creating little Sophie and creating my own characters was just so much more fun than anything I'd ever done with drawing before. And I think that was the main thing about this art challenge, was I tried some new things and I just ended up having the most fun I've ever had doing art. And if I hadn't done this challenge, I maybe would never have created little Sophie. So I just think it was a very important thing. And on week 7 I wrote, I started asking myself, does little Sophie have a face? And this was when because I had the idea of little Sophie in my head for a couple of years, but this was the first time I'd started trying to draw her, and she had always in my head looked like a regular anime character. But during this challenge I started thinking, like, the more I sketched her, the more I started thinking, I don't think she is going to look like what I thought she was. And this was something else that was fun, and it goes back to what I said earlier about how the challenge sort of takes you in its own direction, and it ends up now that little Sophie hasn't got any facial features, and I really like that because it allows for her pose to be the thing. It allows for her pose to be like the focus, like her gesture. But again, this was the challenge itself was bringing me to that. So that was another fun thing about the challenge. On week 8 I said, I don't like the thought of learning a new software package while still trying to find what little Sophie looks like. And what this was about was I wanted to try Clip Studio Paint, which is another software package. But I also didn't want to, because I knew that by trying to learn a new software package, I thought maybe that would be too much. So I was so close to staying with Photoshop, but right at the last minute I decided to try Clip Studio Paint. And again, it goes back to how when you're doing one of these art challenges, you start to sort of just try everything, and you start becoming quite fearless because you're trying new things and you're seeing how fun it is. You start thinking, well, I'm just going to keep trying all these other new things, and it almost doesn't matter. So you can almost say, like, for today's challenge, I'm just going to play around with Clip Studio Paint and see what it's like, and that can be your like mini goal for the day. So you can even break down the challenge itself into mini challenges within the challenge. So on week 8 I was debating whether to try Clip Studio Paint, and then on week 9 I said, the quote said, the pencil acts like a pencil, the pen acts like a pen, and the line quality of both is beautiful. Clip Studio Paint Pro has beautiful default brushes. So I did try Clip Studio Paint, and that one moment ended up changing the whole challenge for me, and ever since I have not really used Photoshop at all, and I've fallen in love with Clip Studio Paint. For me it's just the perfect package. And that linked in with the little quote from week 10 where I said, Clip Studio Paint is amazing, affirmations are amazing, sketching little Sophie is amazing, combining all three together is super amazing. So this is when I started to realise that I loved drawing little Sophie on the computer. Clip Studio Paint just felt like the perfect package, and I also started teaming up these little affirmations I have with little Sophie, which again, that was never something I thought about doing until I started doing this challenge, and everything just sort of fell into place. So these challenges are quite organic, really. They, like I said, they have a mind of their own. And the little quote for week 11, I said, Little Sophie's going to be a clumsy artist, so no idea how good she'll be at teaching. And what that is I came up with the idea, and it's something I'm still thinking about, of creating like a bunch of courses on the website, like how to draw courses, and have little Sophie be the teacher. I think it'd be quite fun, and I've got loads of ideas for that. But again, I need to improve, or I feel like I need to improve my digital painting skills first. But that's something I'm thinking about doing. But I think her clumsiness will be quite good, because I'll bring that into the art classes, so it'll be quite funny, I think. And then the final week of the digital dream, I said, I've always been scared to post imperfect work to the internet, but this challenge forced me to do that. In doing so, I realised it isn't so bad. And I think that really highlights what these challenges are all about. It's about taking yourself completely out of your comfort zone, trying new things, and realising that all the fears you have, and all the fears that are stopping you from doing things, they're all lies. And when you actually just start doing it, and an art challenge sort of forces you to do the things that you're scared to do, and you realise that not only do you realise that it's nothing to be scared of, you realise that it's a lot of fun. So for me, that is the main reason to do one of these art challenges, is just to force yourself out of your comfort zone and realise that when you're out of your comfort zone, that's when you do the best stuff, and you just learn so much about yourself and about art. And for me, I feel like it's the best thing ever. So if we go back to the little list of things I had as to why to do an art challenge, the first thing was it takes you out of your comfort zone. And like I just said, with the two challenges I've done so far, digital painting and traditional, they both scared me. And I think if I had never done one of these art challenges, I probably would never have been able to have started painting. The art challenges, both of them, really allowed me to see that there was nothing to be afraid of. And not only that, but I've fallen in love with digital painting, and traditional painting feels like something I want to do in the future. So the good thing about these art challenges taking you out of your comfort zone is it forces you to do things that you're scared to do, and in doing so you realise that there was nothing to be afraid of. And this also goes into the next one, which is to try new things. You start experimenting with things you wouldn't normally try. So like for instance with me, with the digital dream, I tried Clip Studio Paint and I fell in love with it. With the 1330 painting challenge, I tried oil paints for the first time and watercolours, and again I fell in love with both of them, and they were both so different. And it is just really fun to try new things, because it you get really excited and your mind starts going crazy thinking about all the things you could do. But then that also sometimes, for me, that also sometimes gets a little bit annoying, because you get excited about all these things you can do, but you're not quite ready yet to be able to do that because your skills aren't good enough. That can be a little bit sad sometimes, to not be at the point that you want to be at. But what is good is that it shows you what is going to be possible if you keep doing it. So trying new things is good because it sort of gets you excited for the future. The next one I had was that it gives you confidence, and this is definitely true because you realise you can do a lot more than you think. And like I often say, it's like you're going against the lies of the mind, and by overcoming fears, like putting out imperfect work, like what I did with the digital dream, you start realising that the mind is always lying to you and trying to hold you back. And so you start to get a lot more confident knowing that you can do things. And another thing is just the thought, when you get to the end of the challenge, knowing that you actually showed up every single day and produced a piece of artwork, that gives you confidence to know that you can do it. You can set a goal and achieve it. And these challenges are only little, like you could just do a little drawing for an hour a day. So it's not, whilst you are sort of committed to it, it's not that much of an investment, but it can be if you want. You could do more, but it doesn't have to be a massive investment. But just when you get to the end of the challenge and you've done that, it gives you confidence to know that moving forward you can do more. It just gives you a lot of confidence to move forward. The next thing I said was about you might find a new passion or direction, or realise that something you've always wanted to do, when you actually start doing it, you don't enjoy it. And for me, the new passion I've got is now creating Lil Sophie, and I think that passion has become so strong that it's actually stopped me wanting to do pencil drawings for the moment. And like I said, it's just quite exciting the direction that these challenges can take you in. And so you might start one of these challenges and you'll end it as a completely different person, and it might be that your whole direction of your art completely changes, and you could never have predicted that. So it's really fun, and I think as long as you're following what you want to be doing, you're going to end up doing what you want to do. That's mad. And something I really love about these challenges is that you embrace uncertainty, and by embracing this uncertainty, that's what will shape the future direction. Because if you wasn't doing a challenge like this, it's very easy to just keep doing the same thing every day, and it might be that you'll never find out something that you could have done which you would have fallen in love with. And you only do that because in this challenge you're sort of experimenting and playing. It's in that playing that you fall in love with things. And for me that was like Lil Sophie and working digitally. So the next one I said about was it can build a drawing habit. So say you're struggling to show up every day to do gesture drawings or something, you can actually team that up with one of these challenges. So you could say, for this challenge I'm going to do a gesture drawing, and then turn that gesture drawing into a drawing and then a painting. But the thing you're starting with is the gesture drawing, and then when the challenge is over, because you know that you've done a gesture drawing every single day, you can actually keep that going. So it's a good way to build a drawing habit. You end up creating loads of art, which, as I've said before, if you've got a sketchbook full of drawings, it's just really sort of inspiring to look through all the stuff you've done, and that motivates you to do more. So you're producing so much art in such a short period of time, you end up with a bunch of drawings, which is quite exciting. And that's one of the funnest parts of the challenge, is looking back at all the artwork you've done. You also feel part of something bigger. I didn't really feel that with the first challenge I did, because I was doing that one completely on my own. But the second one I did, which was the 1330 painting challenge with Leslie Sater, and on that one you did your little painting, and then every day you posted it to her website. And what was really cool was everyone else was doing that, so you ended up with hundreds of artists posting their artwork. So every day, not only were you producing your little piece of artwork, but you got to see everyone else's. And that was one of the most fun parts of that challenge for me, was because you would log in and you'd end up starting to see somebody's work and you say, I know who that is. Because there was somebody there who was always drawing birds, so every day they painted a bird, and you'd log in and you'd actually be quite excited to see what they had just done. So part of the challenge became not just what you were doing, but what everyone else was doing, and that was one of the most fun bits about the challenge for me. And I feel like Inktober will do the same thing, because you hashtag Inktober And I think it would be quite fun just to see what everyone else is doing, and knowing that you're part of that, it just feels... I never really realised how much fun it was going to be part of something like that. So that's a good reason to do one of these art challenges. And the thing that's good about that is, you never know, but you might form some like friendships with people who are doing the similar artwork to you. So you could end up at the end of this challenge with a bunch of friends, which would be nice. And another thing I said was that you learn so much, and not only do you learn new art skills, but something that I've realised is you learn things about yourself, like where your limits are. And that was something I struggled with in the first challenge, which was the digital dream. Because it was my first ever challenge, I didn't realise what I was capable of and what was going to be too much. So at the start of it, I think I set so much stuff that I wanted to do that I ended up getting overwhelmed by it, and it became so overwhelming that I almost quit the challenge. But this is like what I said about writing, that allowed me to cut some things out to make it a bit more manageable. But the good thing about writing is that now I can look back, and when I do future challenges, I know what my limits are, so I can go into the next challenge with a lot more realistic expectations. So I do think it is quite a good idea to write as you're doing these challenges, just to sort of help you for future ones as well. And the main thing is that it is fun, and both of the challenges I've done so far, they have been so much fun. The first one was fun because I realised how much fun it was to create your own characters, and until that point it's something I'd never done before. But when I'm drawing my own characters, it's just so much more creative than like doing a painting or drawing from a reference, and it's just so much more fun. And the digital dream was also just the first time I really started putting colour into my artwork, which that too was fun. And then with the other challenge, the 1330 painting challenge, that one was probably more fun because it was just so messy to be working with paint, and that one was just so fun, getting paint everywhere. And that for me is the main thing about these challenges, is that you're drawing and painting what you want to do. There's no rules about what you have to draw or paint, so you can do whatever you want. So you're going to have fun because you're going to be drawing what you want, but because you're trying so many new things that you've never done before, you just end up experimenting and playing, and these challenges just become so much fun. And for me, that is the main reason to do one of these art challenges, is that the amount of fun that you're going to have. And the good thing about that is when it's over, the fun doesn't stop, because with the digital dream, for instance, that was like the end of last year, and I'm still having fun now drawing Little Sophie, which only came about because of that challenge. So that's basically just a bunch of reasons and stuff about why I think doing art challenges could be one of the best things you ever do. And I know it might seem a little bit scary or daunting to start a challenge, because you might think, I can't show up every day for 30 days. But this is something about the challenges that you will realise that you can. And like I said earlier, even if you just say, I'm going to do a little quick sketch for 10 minutes, I'm sure everyone can find 10 minutes. But what's fun about it is you'll do it for the 10 minutes, and before you know it, you'd end up just doing it for hours. So I feel like there's always a way to do one of these challenges. Even if you haven't got much time, there's always a way to do it, I think. And the benefits of that little bit of effort to start an art challenge is just going to be rewarded so much that I feel like it's really worth doing. So that's this week's topic, which is why do an art challenge. And like I said, next month is Inktober, and it's going to be the first time I've ever done Inktober. So I think next week's podcast might be focused on Inktober and some of the things I want to achieve. But that's the main topic for this week. That means it's now time for this week's little art tip, and it's sort of like a 2-for-1 this week, but they're both related. And it's basically to, when you're drawing, either traditionally or digitally, it's always to remember not to get too close. So I'm going to break this little art tip into two, and I'm going to say traditional and digital. So if I go digital first, I would say the art tip is to not draw super zoomed up for too long, because if you spend all your time zoomed right in close, you're gonna end up wasting time, because when you zoom out to normal size, most of those details you're not even going to see, and also you're not going to realise how all that detail relates to the overall drawing. So on the computer, it is to not zoom in too close, especially when you're first starting the drawing. And when working traditionally, it's to always remember to step back. And this is something I noticed with pencil drawings, was I would sometimes spend hours focused on like rendering an eye, and then when I'd step back, it's only when you step back that you realise that something was wrong, because you were so close to it that you couldn't see how it related to everything else. So this week's little art tip is really to find the balance between working close up and pulling back and seeing the whole. And on the computer, that is about zooming in and out. And working traditionally, it's a little bit different, but it's basically to stand up and step back and look at your drawing or painting from a distance. So that's this week's little art tip, and it's to remember to zoom out and step back when doing a drawing, so that you don't end up wasting too much time focusing on the details. And I think that's it for this week's podcast. So you can find show notes and everything at sophielawson.com. There's also be links to all of the blog posts I talked about and stuff. And you can find the podcast on YouTube at youtube.com/sophielawson. If there's anything you wanted to talk about on a future episode or something, you can always send me a message at sophielawson.com/contact, or leave a comment on the YouTube video in the comments. And I think that is it for this week's challenge. This week's podcast. And all that's left is this week's inspirational quote, and it goes to Fred DeVito, and it is, "If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you." Fred DeVito.